Okay, so we're going to solve another problem using elimination. Elimination means that we're going to eliminate or get rid of one of the variables, at least for a minute, for a moment. And can I move this out of the way? I'm not sure if I can or not. Yeah, I could. Good. All right. So as always, make sure you write it down even though it's already written. I'm going to rewrite these problems and just watch carefully because I'm going to put a negative 1x there, even though it just says negative x. Some people like to say invisible, but there is a 1 in front of that x, or negative 1, and 11. And then the other equation, same thing, negative 1x, negative 3y or minus 3y, and negative 17. Okay. Now, have you got that written down? Why don't you write it on the board, please, or paper? Make sure you write it down, Corey, please. Everybody? Okay. Oh, I thought you were using the big whiteboard. Okay, so now what we want is to use two of these numbers. The technical word is coefficients. These two numbers, we have a negative 1 and a negative 1. What we want is a negative 1 and a positive 1. Okay? So we want to change one of these to a positive. It doesn't really matter which one we change. I'm going to do the second one here just because that'll be, I think, a little bit easier. I mean, it's a matter of opinion. So we're going to do that by multiplying. I'm going to say two words here. Multiplying, technically it's multiplying by negative 1, but I'm going to use another word, and that word is opposite. Because when you multiply by negative 1, right, if you multiply 5 times negative 1, you get negative 5. You multiply negative 3 times negative 1, you get positive 3. In other words, it changes something from negative to positive. Does that make sense? So that's what's going to happen here. Now, as always, I said you have to write this stuff down. There's a lot of writing. It's not hard, and it takes a minute. So please bear with us on that. The first equation, even though we wrote it before, we're going to write it again. Negative 1x, positive 4y, and 11. The second one, if we just multiply, and I'm going to make little lines here. You don't have to draw these lines. We're going to multiply negative 1 times that, multiply negative 1 times that. We're going to multiply negative 1 times that. Now let me get rid of those lines. Negative 1 times negative 1x is positive 1x. Again, what we're really just doing here is the opposite. 1x. Oops, sorry. You could put a plus if you want. I'm not going. Yeah, you know what? I think I will. Positive 1x. Okay, this will be negative 1 times negative 3y is positive 3y. Somehow my 11 didn't get copied on there. There we go. And negative 1 times negative 17 is positive 17. So say when you're ready, please, because we need to have both of those equations written down on your paper or your whiteboard or your virtual, whatever you have there. Say when you're ready. Good. Okay, so now we're going to add, and you don't have to draw circles here, but we're going to add everything in the blue circle, we're going to add everything in the red circle, and we're going to add everything in the green circle. If we add the blue circle, that's going to be the easiest part, because that's positive 1x and negative 1x adds up to 0, the easiest number in the world. So easy that we don't even want to write it. Just simplify those, cross them off is what most people say, or cancel them. If we add what's in the red, we're going to get 4y plus 3y, which is 7y. And if we add what's in the green, don't forget to put the equals. When we add what's in the green, we're going to get 28. And what we now have is an equation that is much easier than what we started with. First of all, we started with 2 equations. We're down to 1. 1 is definitely easier than 2. Also, we started with 2 different variables, x and y. We're down to 1 variable. That's a y, by the way. It's very neat, but that's a y. And so we have this equation now that's going to be much easier to solve, and all we need to do to solve it is divide both sides by 7. I'm going to say it again. You guys need to be practicing your arithmetic. Okay, I know you've been doing division since like 3rd grade, so please make sure you're not always reaching for the calculator. If I give you super big numbers, I would expect you to do that, but I expect you to be able to do this quickly. 4. That's what you should get. Y is equal to 4. We're halfway done. Remember, we have to find x and y, and we've got the y. Now, the part that I like best about this is that we get to go back to these two original problems and use either one. I'm going to use the top one. It doesn't really matter. And so what I'm going to do is write that top equation, but watch carefully when I write that equation. I'm going to put the y in parentheses, plus 4, and I'm going to put the y inside of these in equals to inside the parentheses equals to 11. Now, we just said a second ago that y was equal to negative 4. That means whenever we see y, we could change it to 4. So let me do what I just said. I'm going to erase and replace. I'm going to erase that y right there and replace it with the number 4. Okay. Now, this equation is actually easier than what we started with because there's only one letter in it now, the letter x. We've got negative x. If you want, you could call it negative 1x. Plus 16 is equal to 11. Now, since I have added 16, we're going to need to subtract 16 from both sides. From this side and from that side. And so these will add up to 0. We can just cross it off. You don't want to write the 0. We get negative 1x is equal to negative 5. Okay. And now, since they have multiplied by negative 1, we want to divide both sides by negative 1. Divide this side and that side by negative 1. And over here, the negative 1s will simplify, and we're left with just x, which is what we wanted. And negative divided by negative is a positive. 5 divided by 1. So we're going to get positive 5, or just 5, for the other part of our answer. This is not really two answers. This is one answer with two parts. The first part, remember, the answer goes in, it's an order pair. The order matters. It's the same order that we have in the alphabet, of course. X comes before Y, so you want to put the X first. You want to put the 5 first. So our final answer will be 5, 4. Now, let me just say one more thing, do one more thing before we wrap this problem up. And that is, hopefully I didn't make a mistake here, but we want to check to see if we did make a mistake. All right. And I'm going to say it right now that this is one of those times you may think I'm mean. If you ask me if your answer is right, I'm going to say it with love or whatever. This is something that I want you to check. I don't want to do that for you. I want to do something for you that I think you can do for yourself. So if you ask me if it's right, I'm going to say, you should check it. I'm going to show you how to do that right now, how to check to see if your answer is right. Like I said, hopefully I didn't make a mistake here. So our original problem, we just said, and you don't have to write this, but we just said that x is 5 and y is 4. So when we see an x, we need to write 5, and when we see a y, we need to write 4. And we need to do this twice. I'm going to use the word should. I'm going to write this down here. I'm going to write this, I did it with my other class. I'm going to write down, to check our answer, we should replace the x and the y with 5 and 4 in both equations too. And I'm going to type that here. What just happened? Check our answer. Got to move it down here. Bear with me while I get this lined up here. There we go. Okay. To check our answer, our solution, we should replace. I'm going to use the correct mathematical word. The correct mathematical word is substitute. We should substitute x and y with 5 and 4. Why didn't that move over like I thought it would? Okay. With 5 and 4. Oops. And the key here is we have to do it in both equations. Don't just do it in one. In both equations, the original equations. I'm using the word should here. I like to use the word have to. You should always check your, well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes the teacher, whatever you have, your teacher might say you have to show how you checked it. Some teachers say that, some don't. So I'm going to write these two original equations, but when I write them, I'm going to use parentheses. So we have negative x, the first equation, plus 4y is equal to 11. And the second one is negative x minus 3y, isn't it? Negative x minus 3y. What was it equal? Negative 17. Negative x minus 3y is equal to negative 17. Those are our two original equations. And let's do now what I just wrote and what I just said. I'm going to erase and replace. I'm going to substitute those x's and y's with 5 and 4. I'm going to do it in both equations and make sure that it's right. Okay, so if I erase, let me make this a little bit bigger. Oh, not that big. This computer is so slow. I'm sorry, everybody. Okay. There we go. I'm going to erase the x and the y in this equation, and I'm going to replace them with 5 and 4. 5 for the x, 4 for the y. I'm going to do the same in the other equation. I'm going to erase x. Come on. And I'm going to erase the y. Come on. And I'm going to also replace those with 5 and 4. Now this first time what I'm going to get is negative 5 plus 16, which is the same as 16 minus 5. And my question is, isn't 16 minus 5 equal to 11? Of course it is. So it works in the first, but we also check the second equation. In the second equation, we have negative 5 minus 12. And isn't that, yes, equal to negative 17? Yes, it is. So it works in both. That's how we know our answer is right. Again, this is just to check your work. And so, oh, and don't forget when you, oh, I already wrote my answer. Yeah, so you want to write the 5 first and the 4 second. All right.